One day, when I was worshiping and offering a prayer asking, "Father, please share your burden to me," I saw the figure of true Father. Father appeared like a beggar and had an unimaginable load of weight on his back. When I looked closely at the load he was carrying, it was a mountain-like collection of junk that was tied and secured to the point that I couldn't tell what the junk consisted of. Father was holding that piled up junk that was 10 meters high on his back. It was a load that was nearly impossible for one person to carry. Father, however, carried that junk and was slowly taking one step after another. With the thought of wanting Father to share that load of weight to me, I tried approaching Father and circled around him, but Father took no notice of me and continued to walk with an emotionless face. I attempted on taking one or two items from that piled junk, but the load was unstable and I couldn't take the items without it crashing down. Father didn't mention a word, but I got the vibe. Not a single item from this load can fall. This load cannot be placed on the ground. It seemed as though Father was cherishing that pile of junk he was carrying. Even though I wanted to relieve Father from that burden, I couldn't think of any other way to do so. But when I thought for a while, I realized that my thought of "please share that load to me" originated from my self-centered feelings. With the word share, I was basically asking Father to give me the amount of weight that I was capable of holding and let Father carry the rest, even if it may be more than what his body can bear. Unless I say, "Father, I will carry all of the weight on your back," Father couldn't depend that load of weight to me, and thus I was incapable of relieving Father from that burden. I repented for my selfishness, and I approached Father again with the heart of, "I will carry all of that load." I went behind Father and tried lifting that weight, but it did not budge. Even with my action, Father continued to walk silently. At that moment, I felt as though Father himself could not take the action of passing all that weight to another person, so I desperately thought that I had to think of a different method to somehow receive Father's load on his back. When I thought that I couldn't do this alone, several brothers came to help. They used the strength of their entire bodies to lift that weight, and we successfully lifted that load of weight slightly off his back. As a result, the pile of junk stopped moving, and we were able to take off the rope that wrapped the load of junk from Father's arms as he continued to take one or two more steps. We succeeded in transferring that load from Father to us. We were all happy, but because the load was too large, I could not see the figure of Father. I was somehow able to feel that Father looked back at us holding the load. When we wanted to confirm the presence of Father standing right in front of us, we instead saw Father running on ahead, straight forward at full speed, like an Olympic athlete. I felt that true Father had a desperately intense desire to run at full speed to a place, but because the load on his back was too heavy, he was unable to move as freely as he wanted. The scenery was as if Father was running to the most important place that would lead to the completion of the providence. As I watched Father running farther and farther to the horizon, we noticed that the load of weight got lighter. When I looked up, each pieces of junk became humans and were coming down to the ground. Then, those humans that reached the ground helped support the load of weight that we were holding. I realized that the load of weight that Father was carrying on his back was the fallen humankind. With that revelation, I repented for making true Father suffer for so many years, because I knew that I was also one of those pieces of junk that was a burden on Father. The scenery changed, and now Father was walking at the forefront of crossing the Yearning mountain. I have no idea what the real Yearning mountain is like, but the place had no grass fields or trees, but only rocks and dirt. I finally hiked up close to the summit, thinking that I was one of the people falling behind. When I looked back, however, I was astonished of seeing 3 million people following behind me all the way from the bottom of the mountain. When I looked ahead, it seemed as though Father reached the summit of the mountain, and one after another, people reached the summit following after Father. The moment I finally reached the peak, the scenery of the vast panorama moved me. The scenery I saw was a world like heaven wrapped in a pale, soft, white light. I strongly felt that this was the heavenly world that True Father stated that he wanted to live eternally. In the center of the scenery, there was a white palace like the Chonjungan. I instinctively thought that this was the palace where God will have his wedding ceremony. I felt that True Father was that only person that knew this place, but because he couldn't come here alone, he long waited for the day when we could come to this place together with him. In that palace, Father is there, and if God can have his wedding ceremony, I thought that the pale light surrounding the scenery would change to a brighter light. I felt that boundless love and wish of God, preparing and waiting for the day when True Father can enter the palace with all of us.